or something extremely intimate, and where we need to create some anonymity for the plaintiff, we petition the court and ask that our client be called Jane Doe or John Doe.
Okay.
And when we do that, that way their name's not spread across, the world and in the news and across the court records.
So the court has to approve that?
Yes.
Because everything in the courtroom is supposed to be public record.
Right.
That's so you can go and find out what's happening. The purpose of the public record in the courtroom, the court really reveres that public record, and they want everything that happens there to be public, so you can come and watch jury trials and things like that.
Gotcha.
And so anything that you file is in the public record. And so when you have really sensitive matters and you have victims of sexual assault or things like that, who don't want to be identified in all those filings. They don't want people to be able to come to their house and ask them questions and those kinds of
it's
things.
sensitive topics.
Right, that's when we would
very
petition the
sensitive
court.
topics. We're not talking about car wreck cases. We're not talking about slip and falls, dog bites, those kind of things. We're talking about the most intimate allegations that could ever be brought. And so we petition the court, and 99.9% of the time, the attorneys on the other side agree to it,
Right.
and consent to it, which
Is there
is
any
good.
reason why they would deny that?
Public shaming. We have victim shaming that goes on, and every once in a while we'll get, and we've had that happen in some cases that I have, but
So they want to publicly shame some,
the
which
victim,
is why they'll
yes,
deny that.
and to try to intimidate them. Yeah, absolutely.
It's sort of
Terrible.
like if you're going to bring a claim like this, you need to put your name on it.
Yeah.
That kind of attitude.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Sends me over the edge in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will tell you this: the courts do not take to it, and they don't put up with that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Good.
I mean, in all my years, I've been practicing law almost 15 years, and in all of our Jane and John Doe cases, I mean, I don't think a judge has ever ruled against allowing the anonymity in the Jane Doe, John Doe
Man,
caption.
I'd love to see you if they did.
Oh,
Could you imagine? You guys do not want to see
I would be like a rabid
Amy
dog.
upset. Yeah, she is great. She's a great person to fight for you. So, as far as court, so just anybody can go and watch court?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
See, I always
And
thought it had to
even-
be like, you had to be tied to the case or knew the people or whatever.
And I think that's one of the great things about the system.
It's supposed to be public. That way the public can know about it. The public can get involved in it. You're supposed to know what's going on in your
wow. I
community
didn't
and in
know
your
that.
courtroom because it affects everybody. So it's supposed to be a public place. At the same time, when you're dealing with sensitive matters, it's hard to be public, and it can
Right.
that fear of the public knowing about what happened to you can keep people from wanting to bring these claims and to hire a lawyer and to get help because they're
Absolutely.
afraid of being identified.
Well,
And
and
so-
we've had that before too, where we've
Right.
known that someone has been a victim. We've asked, you're connected to this case. Do you want to be involved? And they're like, no, I don't want to rehash that part of my life, right?
Right. Prosecuting a case is really hard, especially when it's something traumatic. Sometimes you have to relive it, and it takes a long time, and so.
Yeah.
It goes on for years, yeah. And when we say that this is a Jane or John Doe case, this doesn't mean that it's a sealed case and no one knows any of the allegations and no one knows any of the information, or people can't go into the courtroom. It's not that.
Right.
It's just that in public filings, we do not refer to the victim, the plaintiff, by their name.
That's so interesting because it's kind of like their name still is out there as far as the court goes and as far as being open to the public and all that good stuff. These are brave individuals that are still having to say who they are and share their story publicly, but then just in all of the records and, news outlets and stuff, then they're more
and
secret.
Then, when we have these cases go to trial, like we just had back-to-back trials and federal Jane Doe trials, civil rights trials in Colombia, at the end of the case, their name is put to the case at the end of it. And one of the things we tell victims all the time, especially those of sexual violence, is that there's something empowering about telling your story and knowing that people are listening, they care, and they believe you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, what do you mean by at the end your name's put to it?
So when we go to verdict, at the end of the verdict, the Jane Doe is taken off and the name is put on.
So the name wasn't there in court.
We're Jane Doe up until we get a verdict.
Oh, wow.
And then after the verdict, the name is replaced.
See, I assume their name was being said in court, just not in files.
Well, their name is being said in court.
Gotcha.
And the good thing about the press, the majority of the press, they don't air those names.
Gotcha.
They refer to them as a Jane Doe, unless they would like to be named. And I think that's great. One of the things that Horry County News does and Charles Perry, which I I adore him because he does this. I think that it's admirable. He will not name a rape victim unless they want to be named, even if they're not anonymous, even if they're not Jane Doe's, because
wow.
it just feels like the right thing to do.
Yeah,
is what he
that's
said,
great.
and I can respect that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are there Jane Doe cases that after, say they win the case, they do want to put their name out there and they change it from a Jane Doe, or is pretty much they all want to stay
no,
Jane Doe?
they can change it anytime. It's their voice. It's their choice. And they can do it any way which they want.
This is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
The actual term Jane Doe or John Doe, those are just kind of like random plain names to go with these people to
Yeah, it's
signify
been
them,
used
right?
throughout history. If there's someone who's, a body is discovered, they're a John Doe or a Jane Doe, if it's a male or a female. And so it gives that anonymity. That way we can't try to tie it back to somebody.
I'd be interested to know where these Doe
I know,
names
right?
came from. I
Right.
wonder if is it a husband and wife that somebody discovered one time in history or something?
Right,
Yeah.
200 years ago.
Yeah, it'd be interesting
Yeah.
to know where those came from. Were you going to say something, Sarah?
I know, I was just going to say there's multiple Jane Does or John Does, and then they just get numbers. So it would be Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2.
So in our recent
Jane Doe
case,
3.
it was Jane Doe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
wow.
etc. Yeah.
Interesting.
If there's the same plaintiff and same set of facts.
It can also work in the reverse, which is not why we're here to talk today, but
Right.
if you're suing someone and you don't know exactly who that person is yet,
Oh,
you don't know their
interesting.
name, you can list them as a John Doe
Hit and
or a
runs are
Jane Doe
examples. Yep.
as a defendant, and then through discovery, the hope is that you find out who that person was,
Right.
and you can amend it and replace it later, but you can still bring an action even if you don't know exactly who was the cause.
No, that's
of your
interesting.
injury. Yeah.
That's good to know.
When life gets ugly, justice is lovely. The love